Joining us right now, as he always does at this time on Friday when we're lucky, is Bret Baier of Fox News Special Report. Hey, Bret, good morning.
Good morning.
I understand, listen, everything you do on Special Report is special because that's why they call it Special Report. But I really love the weekend Friday night special, extra special reports that you do. And I understand you've got one tonight. It's called American Payday, The Big Squeeze. What is that all about?
Yeah, we've been spending the past few months, documentary unit, going around to some of these states, swing states, these Senate races, and talking to people and their situation, their economic situation, how much, what their job and their paycheck really are going to affect their vote this time around. Some amazing stories. I mean, just going to Kentucky, some of those areas in eastern Kentucky that have been hollowed out in the effort to kind of put the pinch on the coal industry. And then the exact opposite in Louisiana, where there's a boom and bust, a boom of natural gas and oil. And, these people are making their decisions, and we often hear about the polls and the horse race. These are people stories, and that's what we're putting on.
Yeah, we always lose sight of that, don't we? I mean, it's actually, when we talk about elections, we focus on the candidates, but it's really about where the people are.
Yeah, and for all the talk about Ebola and foreign policy and all of this stuff, really it comes down to a security of how you feel. And a lot of that has to do with your paycheck.
Well, Bret, I mean, we just had in the last half hour Larry Hogan, the Republican candidate for governor in Maryland here. And listen, he's picked up some big-time endorsements, including Montgomery County Gazette, which is hardly a Republican organ. And he's within striking distance of Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown in a state that is outnumbered Democrats to Republicans 2-1. And I asked him, how is this happening? And he had one answer, and that is taxes, taxes, taxes. Did you pick up on any of that in your reporting?
Yeah, there is a concern, depending on where you are in the country, about taxes, and it comes down to your paycheck. If you look at people's paychecks across the board, they have gone down over the past 6 years, and there is this split that's developing between corporate America and the middle class that has increased, not decreased. And it's really interesting to see. I mean, we went to California. There were protests in San Francisco, Democrats on Democrats saying, protesting Silicon Valley because of the astronomical checks that they were getting and some of the sprawl that was coming out of there. I mean, amazing stuff that's happening that you don't really hear about day to day.
All right, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with the Ebola story. I mean, literally about half a mile up the road from where we are right now, Nina Pham has arrived at the NIH. The Ebola story has very much been on the headlines of late, and people are very concerned. And I think you'd have to agree with me that the response of government has been, well, their communication effort on this has not been the best.
No, I mean, it's been muddled, and they've had to come back and say, oh, yes, we screwed this up or we said this the wrong way. I think you're starting to see a different sense about this travel ban and that the administration is considering it, which they weren't a few days ago. And,
well, he said last night, didn't he, that he wasn't philosophically opposed to it, but that he thought that the experts were counseling against it.
Yeah, and I think that's just you're seeing the tone change.
Right.
You're seeing, I mean, the key part here is that we remember that it's one Liberian man who died, 2 health workers who contracted this from him, and so far we don't have that, outside of that. But I think we're finding more about how contagious this is and what direct contact really means, which is within 3 feet. And I think you're starting to see and learn more as we keep going on here about protocols and what health workers have to do.
Bret, we often like to talk to you about your job as a journalist and some of the issues that affect the media. And your colleague Shepard Smith made some headlines this week with a statement during his show, in a way admonishing many members of the media for what he considered to be some overreaction in how they had been covering the Ebola story. I wonder if you could, I don't want you to comment on Shep, but just in general.
How do you walk that line?
Yeah, the media reaction. How do you cover the story and not, raise concerns when there are legitimate issues out there?
Yeah, I understand Shep's point. He makes it in a unique way on his 3 o'clock show.
Yes, he does.
But there has to be a balance here. There has to be not a search for ratings and scaring people to get people to tune in. You have to be able to say what exactly is happening and what's being done about it. And, if people should be aware of things, do it in a way that's not over sensationalizing it.
All right. So, what's your sense then on the story as it develops, the Ebola story? Do you think
people are paying attention to it? I mean, everybody I talk to is asking me questions about it, but you run into the occasional person who wants to build a plastic bubble.
Yeah, I understand that, but do you think we'll have an Ebola czar? Do you think there will be a travel ban? I mean, the president at least said he was open to philosophically discussing it.
Yeah, I do think that it's going to get there, and
I do too.
I think that the fact that you have a president who has not canceled fundraising events for a long time, he's had 60 this year, and he canceled 2. And had 2 open cabinet meetings for reporters and cameramen. I think that's a signal that the administration wants to be at least perceived as being on top of it.
All right, and Bret, just as we're talking about the president and his response, he did float the idea yesterday in his remarks about an Ebola czar. Is something that there have been a couple people from Congress, Republicans as well, saying that is something that needs to be done? I mean, isn't the director of the CDC de facto the Ebola czar?
Or the HHS secretary?
Sure.
There's actually a person in HHS who is specifically tasked with Ebola and dealing with that infectious disease, believe it or not. But I do think that there will be somebody who is overarching, and the fact that the president talked about it suggests that that pressure is reaching him.
All right. Well, listen, Bret, it's always a pleasure to have you. And again, we'll look forward to that special.
10 p.m. tonight.
And Bret, wait, before we leave you, your Orioles are out of it now.
I know.
So now we've got the Royals versus the Giants for the World Series. How can you not be behind the Kansas City Royals, that Cinderella team?
Just history.
Right? All right.
George Bret.
You're on board with the Royals. All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you much.
I'm with you, Bret. So we both jumped on 3 different bandwagons in the last few weeks.
Yeah. Tickled fans.